You ever wonder if the biggest political fights aren't happening out in the streets anymore, but right here, on our screens? Well, today we're diving into something called technopolitics. It's this hidden digital struggle for power that's literally coded into the tech we use every single day.
Okay, to really get this, we've got to go back a bit, to 1994. Picture this, deep in the jungles of southern Mexico, you've got these rebels, the Zapatistas, right? And they're in this intense fight with the government. But here's the kicker. Their most powerful weapon, it wasn't a gun. It was a modem.
So what they did was they used the super early internet to completely bypass government censors and just blast their message out to the entire world. And get this, when the Mexican government tried to shut them down, this brand new global network of online activists just flooded them with messages. I mean, they were overwhelmed. It actually forced them to the negotiating table. This victory, you see, it wasn't won on a traditional battlefield. It was won through a phone line. And that really raises the big question, right? Who really controls all this technology?
All right, so to unpack all of this, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at this idea of tech as a double-edged sword. Is it for liberation or is it for control? Then we'll dive into the big critique, that it's just a tool for the powerful. But then we'll flip that and see how people have turned it into a tool of resistance. We'll check out what that means for global solidarity. And, the big one, how do you actually turn a simple click into real-world action? Okay, so let's jump right into that central conflict. Because the thing is, the digital world, it is not a neutral space. Not at all. It's more like a battleground, where the exact same tools can be used to set people free or to control them. It's this constant back-and-forth tug-of-war.
And that, right there, is the very essence of technopolitics. It's so much more than just, politicians using social media. No. This is about the fight over the code itself. Who's actually building these platforms? Who gets to make the rules? And probably most important, who's really benefiting from the way they're designed?
Now, there's a pretty powerful argument out there that says this isn't even a fair fight to begin with. The critics will tell you the technology isn't some neutral tool you can just pick up and use. They say it's fundamentally designed, from the ground up, to serve the people who are already in power.
And this critique, it kind of breaks down into three main points. First, you have the origins. The internet itself, it was born out of a US military project called ARPANET. Second, look at its role today. It's absolutely central to how giant corporations and governments maintain their power. And third, you can't ignore the digital divide. It's a very real thing. Access is still wildly unequal, and that's creating whole new ways to divide society.
But there's a really interesting counterargument. The idea is that judging the internet just because of its military beginnings, well, that's a classic logical trap. It's called the genetic fallacy. And it's like this. Just because something starts out one way, that doesn't define what it can become. A tool can totally be repurposed, right? It can be reshaped and even turned against the very people who created it.
And this is where the story gets really, really interesting. Because activists, they didn't just sit back and accept these tools as they were. Oh no, they started hijacking them. They started turning the very infrastructure of power into a platform for their own resistance. And look, this isn't some brand new phenomenon. Activists have been doing this for ages, hijacking whatever communication tech was available. We're talking radio during the Algerian Revolution, even fax machines in Tiananmen Square. The internet, it just took that same strategy and cranked the volume up to a global scale.
But the crucial difference is just the sheer scale of it all. Take the McLibel case in the UK. You have two activists, just two people being sued by a global giant, McDonald's. So what do? They fight back with a simple little website called Mix Spotlight. And that site, it blew up. It became this global hub for criticism, getting over 12 million hits. I mean, can you imagine? It was a PR nightmare of epic proportions for this massive corporation, all orchestrated by two people with a modem.
And just like that, boom, this whole new toolkit for resistance just opens up. You had feminist riot girls building these amazing online communities. Labor unions were organizing global solidarity for striking workers on the other side of the planet. African-American knowledge warriors, as they called themselves, were bypassing mainstream media entirely to get their own stories out there. The very network that was arguably built for control was being transformed into a network for the people.
And what's so cool is that all of these individual threads, they started to weave together into something much, much bigger. What emerged was a whole new model for global action, and it was all powered by the internet.
See, for the longest time, when you said globalization, it pretty much meant one thing: corporations and money spreading across the world from the top down. But technopolitics created this incredible countercurrent, something called globalization from below. You can almost think of it like a new international. like the old historic workers' movements. Only this time, it's a massive digital network, linking up activists from literally every corner of the globe.
Okay, but this brings us to what might be the most critical question in all of this. I mean, let's be real. A hashtag is easy to create. A website is simple to set up. So how do you turn all that digital noise into actual real-world change?
Well, the key seems to be this concept called articulation. And here's a good way to think about it. Your online activity, that's the megaphone. It's great for getting the word out. But you still need people in the streets. You still need the protest. The digital tools are fantastic for informing people and coordinating action, but they have to be connected to real on-the-ground political movements. If you don't have that link, well, then you're really just clicking buttons.
But we have to be crystal clear about something. This is not just a tool for the good guys. For every activist group using tech to organize for democracy, there's a corporation using it for surveillance. We're an extremist group using it to recruit and spread hate. The internet, it's not some kind of utopia. It's a mirror. It reflects our world and all the conflicts within it. It is and always will be a contested space.
So the real takeaway here isn't about whether we should be online or offline. That's kind of missing the point. It's all about strategy. The challenge isn't just to use the new tech. It's about using it with a very clear purpose, to actively try and build a more fair and democratic society.
And that leads us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. Because it's not just about who uses these tools. It's about who gets to design them in the first place. As more and more of our lives go digital, the struggle over technology is really a struggle for the future itself. So the question I want to leave you with is this: who gets to write the code?